Would you believe me if I told you that John Adams, one of the original signers of the Declaration of Independence, actually thought that we would be celebrating Independence Day on July 2nd, not July 4th? Hey everybody, I'm Chaz.Christopher. Welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here today. Today is July 3rd, 2020, and tomorrow is going to be July 4th. So I thought it would be great to give a brief history of the celebration of Independence Day. So why did John Adams think that we would be celebrating Independence Day on July 2nd? Well, July 2nd was actually the day that the Continental Congress passed the resolution for independence. July 4th was the day that Congress approved the Declaration of Independence. However, it wasn't until a month later whenever the complete article was fully drafted and everybody signed it. The following year, in 1777, it is reported that Bristol, Rhode Island, and Philadelphia both had huge July 4th celebrations. They had basically a lot of the same things we have today. In 1781, Massachusetts was actually the first state legislator to recognize Independence Day as a state celebration. You should note, though, that the American Revolution didn't actually end until 1783. So although we had declared our independence, the war still went on until 1783, and it wasn't until after that that most Americans throughout the rest of the colonies actually started participating in these July 4th celebrations. 50 years after the Declaration of Independence was signed, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, the two original signers of the Declaration of Independence, actually died July 4th, 1826. July 5th of 1852, Frederick Douglass gave a speech on how enslaved people actually felt with the July 4th celebration, given that they did not have their freedom. So most people who were enslaved actually celebrated July 5th instead of July 4th, and in that celebration they made it into their own and what they had hoped America would one day become. In 1865, the Civil War came to an end. Now, during American Civil War, the Union kept celebrating July 4th. In the South, they celebrated, but they celebrated more as what they wanted their country to become. Again, Black Americans who were enslaved during this time, if they were able to celebrate, they would have celebrated July 5th. Now, post the American Civil War, Black Americans actually finally were able to embrace July 4th as a holiday because they finally had their freedom. People who were living in the South, white Southerners, they wanted to do nothing with the July 4th holiday because they still felt the Confederacy should have won the Union. They didn't want to be a part of it. As we can still see today, the South was a very sore loser. They still haven't quite given up that they lost today, much less back then. So most white Southerners stopped celebrating. Black Southerners actually elevated the holiday, started celebrating on July 4th, and had many celebrations all throughout the South. As the years went on, white people in the South became increasingly more and more angry about these celebrations. So, multiple cities across the South were actually invaded by white mobs that came in to completely dismantle these celebrations and discourage them from ever doing it again. So at this point in time, we eventually move into Jim Crow laws, and more segregation is once again added to Black Americans. So therefore, July 4th, like it is today, is a very hard thing to celebrate if your freedom still is not there. July 4th was supposed to represent this freedom. If you are, in today's time, still being killed by police more than your white counterpart, that's not freedom. Gay people just getting the right to marry not so long ago, that's not freedom. They've just had this happen this many years later. Obviously, women didn't get the right to vote much later. They didn't have that freedom. So this is constantly an evolution of us trying to get to this ideal freedom that most of us still may not have today. Obviously, for Native Americans, this isn't a very exciting holiday either. It marked the downfall of so many tribes that just got wiped out because of Americans after the American Revolution. It wasn't actually until 1870 that Congress made Independence Day a federal holiday. However, that was mainly for the District of Columbia, and it was unpaid. The holiday did not become a paid federal holiday until 1938. Just like in the past, they had fireworks and we have fireworks today. They would eat a lot of food and be happy and merry. we do that same today. In fact, it is actually noted that most alcohol sales happen right around the July 4th holiday. This is the same with food. Americans consume an ungodly amount of food on July 4th, hence that we even have these famous hot dog eating contests. What about you? Do you celebrate 4th of July? Are you kind of on the fence about it? Do you have any happy 4th of July memories? Mine has always been going to see fireworks. I love fireworks. As a kid, we got to go to a lake and watch the fireworks over the lake, and then as I got older and living in New York where the largest fireworks show is, I got to watch that. Pretty freaking cool, and I was very, very fortunate to have that happen. Do you have some other fact that I forgot to mention in this video? Please let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and most importantly, you do you, I'll do me, and let's make the world a better place. See you next Friday, everybody.